Hello again everyone, and once again welcome back to Canal Sidings Model Railway channel. I thought I'd take the opportunity to do a quick update on my North Grove layout build, but the major reason for my doing a video now is to put out a big thank you to all my subscribers, new and old. I now have just over the 500. And I do appreciate you following me, you commenting, liking my videos, etc. And please keep going. If I am doing anything wrong, I can't think what it is, so you'll have to tell me. The other thing is, there's a bit of a humming in the background. It's a fan that I've got trying to keep me cool in my railway room. It's about 30 degrees in here at the moment, and it is rather hot, and I have to keep the door shut to keep the other extraneous noises out. So I'm not intending this video to be too long because I want to get out of here. Okay, so what have I done since the last update? Well, as you can see, the baseboard is now much more together. I have the back seam in place, and I've also added this piece of blue foam here, which you can see runs all the way along, starts here, goes all the way to here, and then actually sinks down a little bit and goes all the way to the end. This is just an extra piece of wood which I'll come to in a minute. This is extruded polystyrene foam, XPS. It's this stuff. It's very flexible, very light and very strong, and I've seen people actually build whole baseboards out of it. Usually 2 inches thick in 2 or 3 layers with a fascia on the front of wood, and that's their baseboard. Looks difficult to wire up to me, you have to keep turning it upside down, but that wasn't the way I wanted to do it. The way I fixed it to the layout, that there's a rail runs along here that was the back of the original baseboard, and I've actually glued it to there with Gorilla Glue, which is this stuff. It's a bit squashed because it says squeeze the air out of it when you've used it, but it is Gorilla Glue, and it's a sort of a foam stuff. It's very hard when it sets, and it's very tough, as the adverts say, but because it's a foam type glue, it expands. So what I had to do was hold all of this together, hold the foam to the back of this so it didn't push away. And what I did to do that is I bought some 80mm M5 bolts and some penny washers, and I used those to go right the way through, and there's about 13 of them in the back all the way along, and they held everything together while the glue set to stop it from actually expanding. And the glue does ooze out a little bit, you have to be careful not to use too much. But this foam is incredibly strong and incredibly light. The back seam will eventually be fixed to it as well. At the moment that seam along there isn't glued, so the bolts are still holding it, but eventually there'll be only about 3 bolts in it just to give it the major strength, and that will be glued on. But before I can glue that on, I need to sort out quite a few other things, so I shall leave that for another day. I have made the decision that I was talking about last time as to what this point work is going to be through the middle here, and I have decided to go with the double slip. I tried the point here plus a point here, and it just didn't look right, it didn't work. So I've gone with the double slip and taken the hit on the cost. It's about 10 quid more than a pair of points, but there you go. It's Pico Code 75 track, and I have some plain track. This actually here is a bit of Hornby Code 100, it just happens to be straight. And there's another piece of it here which you're meant to be able to see, but I don't think you can in the video, so I'll bring it forward. Just align it to about where it's going. That. So that's what I intend to do. So we will have 4 tracks in fact coming off in this direction. We have this one, which is the access road for getting to these 3 tracks. We have this one, which will be another storage road for locomotives, and we have this one, which will come along the side here and will be where we keep the oil tanks. There's one sitting up there at the moment, the old tanker wagons that fill up these storage tanks, which are just a Bachmann Scencraft building. That will be the one that goes there. This is my single road shed, and this track here will go into that. Now the intention is that between these 2 tracks somewhere here there will be a mini fueling point, and inside the shed there will be, from front to back, an inspection pit. What I don't like is that this track is too close to the edge of the baseboard, so I'm going to curve it very gently to put it more like centred at about there, and then I'll make this one simply follow it round. There'll be a buffer stop on the end of each one. In the other direction we have this track here that disappears off into the cassette system, and I can just about, that's moved a little, that's a converter track, I can just about get a connection between the 2 with sensible radii, mostly 3 foot, but possibly just under it for a short distance, and that will be the entrance and exit road to the whole thing. This track here will be the one that joins onto there, which goes all the way down to the end of here in the outside the shed, and then these 2 here, this one will go into that side of the shed, this one will go into that side. I'm trying not to put the shed perfectly parallel to the edge of the baseboard, but I'm a bit restricted in space, so it'll have to go fairly parallel, and I'm doing the same with this. It's not quite parallel to the edge of the baseboard, and I've tried to avoid that regimented straight lines and straight lines here and here being accentuated by all of that. But in a narrow space it is quite difficult. I've probably put too much track in here, but I want it for storing and showing off modern image locomotives, and being as how they're mostly bogie stock, they're going to be quite large. A Class 66 is about that long. Not that I'll have many of those, because they really weren't all conquering like they are nowadays in my period. I shall have lots of 37s, 47s, and a few 56s, the odd 58s and 20s, some 08s, a 31 or 2, and that kind of thing, if I can justify a 33, but a bit difficult with 33s. Can't quite get them, they're the wrong geographical position for a start, and I'm not sure of how many were actually left by the time we got into privatisation, and how long they lasted. Anyway, that's another story. What's going on up here is that where Huey is sitting here and where Lenny is sitting, the intention is that that will be the personnel access road into the shed. It will be wide enough for small vehicles, but that won't be the norm. The vehicles that would come in here would probably be personnel carriers that have brought drivers and shed staff into work, or taking them home again, or taking people out to do repairs, rescue dead locomotives, possibly do a little bit of track maintenance if that is done by the TMDs. Well, I think that's signal and telegraph and track, so that it would be different, but rescuing dead locomotives is a possibility. What I intend to do is have the shed entrance here. You can't see much of it. There'll be a fence running along here to here, which will be a security fence. Exactly where I don't know, but fairly close to the back of the shed. And I'm going to make the back of the shed a brick faced wall now, and I can put some signage on that. And there will be a pavement and a road, or a little piece of a road showing here, disappearing off the edge of the baseboard about there. For the length of the baseboard, I'm going to use this stuff. which is a vac formed material of a retaining wall. It's from Langley models. It was a lot taller than that, but it's too tall, so I've cut it down to more like the height that I want it. They do a lower one, but that was too low, so I had to buy the tall one. And I bought quite a few of these, and they're going to go along here, something like that, and curve round a little and run along the side of the shed with a walkway down the side here. Run along here. When we get to here, they're going to have to be quite hard against the back seam. There'll be a little bit of scope for a gap to let some foliage grow and things, but they'll be quite hard because in this space here, if I'm not covering it up, in this space here, I want to put the shed office, which will be a porter cabin, 1970s porter cabin, which is sold as a kit by scalemodelScenery.co.uk, and I've got one of those. I just haven't built it yet, but it looks very nice, and that's what I'm going to use there. The wall then, once it gets past that building, will run along here, and around about here we'll step out to cross that incoming track. What I'm going to try and do is narrow one of these arches to the right kind of width to get the trains through. It will then continue along here to the end, allowing for that walkway come vehicle track to run in. So this just keeps moving because it's not been cut very well by me. And then above this, I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do yet, but the idea is plenty of foliage, trees, and maybe a hint of a back scene with terraced houses on it. But I haven't even looked for back scenes with terraced houses on. There is the Pico version, but I'm not impressed by those. I have some of those on Inglethwaite, and I've covered most of it up because I don't really like it that much. They're not photographic, that's the problem with the Pico ones. Anyway, there are a couple of other buildings that are needed on here, and I may not find space for them. I need a mess building, and I will also need a toilet block of some kind. Those two are essential, and I've just got to find somewhere that I could possibly put them. I might be able to get a toilet block behind here, depends how far that way I can push this, and I might be able to get a mess room somewhere in this area, but I really don't know. I don't want to put it at the front of the layout, and there really is precious little room elsewhere. The narrowness of the baseboard is quite a challenge. The back scenes that are not on at the moment, there is a back scene to go here, and there's a back scene to go here, which is a long way from the camera, I know, but you can just about see it, I hope. Those two back scenes I intend to make removable. They're very useful from the point of view that they help to protect the layout when you're carrying it around. Not that I intend to do much of that, but they do get in the way if you want to take movies and things or photographs in this direction or in this direction here. So I've decided that they will just be bolted on and easily removable, and I'll just make a bracket of some kind. I don't think you can see up there, but on the top of this I will add a bracket of some kind so that the tops of the back scene and side scenes, the back scene board and side scene boards, actually fix together. But I haven't really thought about all of that yet. That is about where I am. The other thing is the cassettes are going here, and I intend this to be the front of the cassette, and I may just build a wooden structure that goes behind this cassette that sticks out for about a foot, to allow for my double length cassettes that I intend to build. But that is still something in my head. But where the cassette is sitting is about where I intend to put it, and that really is the next job, and that is to build around this cassette the pieces of 4mm MDF that guide it into place. I've also got to do something up here to stop it from wanting to lift as you push it in, so that it guarantees always to get into the rail joiners that will be soldered onto the end of this. This is actually, because all those cassettes are built in code 100, this, I'll try and see if we can focus. I'll hold it like that because it might focus better if it's got more to focus on. That is actually a code 100 at this end to code 75 adapter track, and I decided that was the better thing rather than trying it on the end of code 75 rails to put adapter fish plates or rail joiners. When I'm putting cassettes in and out, I want as strong as I can get, so I shall be putting those on here, soldering them on, and hopefully that will be strong enough to allow the cassettes in and out all the time. Certainly on Inglethwaite, where I've used that idea of the rail joiners soldered, I have used that many times over the 10 years or so that it's been in existence, or perhaps not 10, perhaps 7 or 8 years it's been in existence, and I've never had any problems with it. So here's hoping. Anyway, I'm going to wind this video up now because I don't want to stay in this heat any longer than I absolutely have to, and I do want to get on and do some more work. So I'll say goodbye for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks once again for all your support and all your subscriptions and your comments, and keep it coming, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.